Hey, JulesBlessedVegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. We're in the middle of a happiness challenge, people, and also a kindness challenge. They go hand in hand. If you're kind to someone, they tend to be happy. And when they respond in kind, you tend to be happy. So in our happiness challenge, if you're just joining us, you're right on time. It's time to get happy. And if you've been with me, today was day 27, which was to call a relative who's far away to say hello or to chat. And I put it in the universe yesterday that I was going to be calling my sister in New Zealand and that I would be talking to my aunt. And before I even could do either, they both contacted me, which is just so God, right? So I absolutely got to communicate with both of them. Do you love that? I love that. Yesterday was to get outside and pick up some litter and be kind to nature. And that is sort of what's going down for tomorrow. Because tomorrow is to be kind to the planet. But it's very specific in two ways that you can be kind. One, eat less meat. And two, use less energy. So if you're already vegan and you don't eat meat anyway, consider using less energy. Can you just simply open a couple of the shades rather than having all the lights on? Can you unplug a couple of things that are having a stream of energy that isn't even being used, right? To help the planet. And certainly if you eat meat, might you consider eating less meat? I mean, not only is it amazing for your health, but of course it'll spare an animal's life, which would be lovely. And we're in a society right now where people are literally eating meat at every single meal, right? They start with bacon and sausage for breakfast. They go on to a tuna fish sandwich or chopped up chicken in their salad. And then they go to dinner for steak, pork, more chicken, whatever it is. And it is a lot of work on the planet, not only to raise those animals, but certainly the process of killing them, and then the procedure that transpires that before it ends up at the market, and ultimately the energy it takes to cook it and put it on your plate. So if you could, might you just for today choose to eat less meat? It's not saying no meat, but again, the blessing is on you to refrain from meat. And yet, of course, it helps the planet and spares that animal's life. So less meat and less energy. I'm all in. Okay, so along with that, I have another talk from, again, Overeaters Anonymous's Just for Today. It's literally called For Today. And the one that I chose is actually coming up on December 30th, but there's a really good index in here that guides you on whether it's abstinence, anger, selfishness, joy. I mean, there's good things too. I chose the one on abstaining because sadly I lost my abstinence today, just for today, because today is all we have. And that was part of the problem. I got caught up in looking too far ahead, which is a huge problem for me. I have no business doing that, with the understanding that tomorrow is not promised, right? With the understanding that you can't say you're going to start again tomorrow because there is no tomorrow, right? You have to make your best choices right now. So I don't really want to blame Coconut, my little monkey mind, but I'd have to say that she was kind of working on me. I underestimated the power of the monkey mind, and of course the entire tribe that so readily shows up. So as you know, I've been being abstinent, and if you followed me, I was so excited to be on day 28. Well, that was kind of a mistake. I mean, it's really ironic because you only want to live for today, but of course humans live by the clock, they live by a calendar, and I had a lot of tools that would allow me to count my process. One of them is my calendar, and I think about Sesame Street when I say one of these things is not like the other. Okay, and that is for today. So for today, it is certainly not like the others because I did not stick to my plan. So I had to reflect on that. Basically, I started with my morning. I intermittent fast. I literally have a 4-hour eating window, which again, I'm not suggesting to anybody, and it's largely because of my Invisalign and just the process of what it takes to maintain these. I'd rather just eat my food in a 4-hour window. And it's generally not a problem. But to do that, I usually have like 20 cups of water during my day, and my day got away from me. So right away, I did not have my lemon water. I did not have the things that I have in the morning. Next thing I know, we were out shopping. Somehow I didn't even have fluid with me in the car, which is total insanity. I was having a ton of anxiety about that. We ended up going grocery shopping. No, it would have been on an empty stomach anyway, but my fluids would have helped. And my husband bought a lot of trigger foods, and I was sorry for that. And then he was kind of challenging me on, even if we stopped and got this or stopped and got that, you wouldn't have any anyway because you're so caught up in, like the whole head trip, right? And me having to defend myself and saying, I'm just trying to get healthy. I'm still trying to get my weight off. It's not forever, etc., etc. So by the time we got home, it was in my eating window. I was ready to eat. Well, I had bought a component that was definitely vegan, largely vegetables, but there was a cooked component to it. And I was already feeling anxious about it because I was like, in using the calories for the cooked component, I would not get the quantity of food that I'm used to because, pound for pound, you can get so much with certainly greens, let alone vegetables, long before this component, right? And so I was already stressed out, and I was calculating my calories and how many I would have when I was done with that. And I was trying to figure out how I could, get more, but in my window, like all of a sudden, food obsession galore. I could have cut that in half, and it would have allowed me to have far more greens and vegetables and fruit and things. But I didn't. I was already caught up in it. I added some celery to try and bulk it to no avail. And then finally, my husband decided he was going to take a nap, and I'd put all the groceries and things away. Next thing I knew, I was shopping in that dang kitchen, and I ended up choosing some foods that were absolutely not on my list. Had I gone into the office and reread what I'd written last night for my food, I probably would have been able to make it through. But I underestimated the monkey. The tribe was already there. They were all, making a great plan, and I faltered, and I took that first compulsive bite, and the first compulsive bite led to a second and a third and a 1500. It was nothing as bad as I've certainly done in the past. I even had the grace to throw a bunch of it away and take it to the outside trash and actually dump it out so I wouldn't be eating out of the trash, which unfortunately in that mindset I am still capable of doing. So I was grateful for that, but it was very distressing. And it wasn't just the food that I ate or the amount of food that I ate, but the mindset, right? That I was in that hidden, up to no good, sneaking, consume before you get caught, like that whole thing. And it kind of took me off guard. It really did. Because again, in pre-writing my food the night before and using my urge jar and using all of my tools, I've been doing really well. But something got me. And I think part of it is stress. Because I've had a lot of things in my mind that have been taking up residence and a lot of loops that are not closed, and they're weighing on me, and I really need to take the time to either act on those or remove them. And so I'm sorry for that. So anyway, the only grace that I had was that when my father, Freudian slip, Freudian slip on how many times I accidentally referred to Dale as my dad. And it's not his fault, but there's so much alike in a, not the best ways. Though some of the ways are darling, I have to admit. But some of the triggers, it's not on him, but I accidentally put it on him. So when my husband woke up, I had the grace to tell him that I had consumed some of his food, and I was sorry for that. He was puzzled by it, and he was like, what the hell are you telling me that for? I mean, not only have you eaten far worse, but all of the food in the house belongs to both of us. Like, you don't even need to tell me that. And And I told them for accountability because I didn't want to be hiding. And in my mindset, I was absolutely hiding. So I just had to kind of think about that. And I still need to pray about it. And I definitely have to just go on. You know, the idea that I'll start tomorrow is not a given. Tomorrow is not promised, right? I only have today. The idea that I'll go back to day one, where, pray tell, where is day one? In all the universe, where is day one? Where are the last 27 days? They don't even exist anymore. We only have now, right? And so I couldn't play that game either. And I'm not. I wish, because time is created by humans, right? That I can't help but want to do that daily accountability. But I don't know if it completely serves me to do that. I feel like tomorrow will just be another day in which in the moment I will choose to honor my body and to work my program. Will I call that day 28 with the understanding that today was day 28 and I wasn't successful in it, but hey, tomorrow will be the 28th day of wellness? I may. I don't know. I don't know where I am with that. I'm still praying about it. So I'm sorry for the game playing in my head, but I am human and I'm just going to have to pray about it. Anyway, I have a great talk and I want to share it. So the first thing is, this is an amazing quote by Mark Twain. And it says, to promise not to do a thing is the surest way in the world to make a body want to go and do that very thing. I'll say it again. To promise not to do a thing is the surest way in the world to make a body want to go and do that very thing. And that reminds me of what we focus on grows. It reminds me of what we resist persist, like that whole obsessive mindset. And I'm not suggesting, well, because you're focused on it and you're obsessed anyway, you better act on it. What I mean is, we need to redecide why not going in that direction serves us more than the desire to do so, right? So it reads, how many times did I swear off, make promises and resolutions to stop overeating? Sometimes I followed through with a diet, and sometimes I didn't even start. But always the promises and the diets were fuel for the compulsion. Always the promises and the diets were fuel for the compulsion. I remember the first time I was in Overeaters Anonymous so many years ago. I learned right away that diet was just the word die with a T on the end. You can think of it as the cross at the headstone, right? And I also understood that I would never diet again, that I would just have to have a lifestyle, right? And understand that it was just a way of living, a way of eating. And so when I accidentally get in that diet mindset, that this is a game, that I need to weigh myself, that I need to mark my, checks and balances and da-da-da, like the way I started obsessing about the calories, there's no doubt that as I'm losing my weight, I need to have a sense of parameters, understanding a range of calories, understanding a range of foods. God, I'm itching to death, people. Excuse me. And I know why, because I'm allergic to this topic. Sometimes when I sit here, oh my gosh, I just start responding like every bit of me is resisting. But maybe it's my body fighting off what I just ate after 27 days of purity, right? Whatever the case is, excuse me, because I'm itching to death, but I'm going to push through because I don't take medication anymore. It's not like I'm going to grab some Benadryl, right? Okay, anyway, it goes on to read, it took Overeaters Anonymous to put into words what all my experience should have told me. Here's what it is. That I was powerless over compulsive overeating, and no promise, no temporary submission to restricted eating would relieve me of my food obsession. In OA, I was given a suggested program of recovery, and all that was asked of me in return was that I have a desire to stop. The program is only for people who have a desire to stop eating compulsively, a desire to stop punishing their body with the food, a desire to stop using food as their courage, like alcohol with liquid courage, right? When someone suddenly starts throwing off their mouth and being such a jerk, and you're like, where's this coming from? Oh, you're on your 5th beer and now you think you can say whatever you want. That liquid courage, that false comfort, that desire to anesthetize oneself with food. I so get that. So the only entrance into the program is to recognize you have a problem with food and a desire to stop abusing that food. So just for today, I will allow no one, including myself. We always have to look back to the source, which is ourselves, right? I will allow no one, including myself, to pressure me into promising to lose weight, promising to stick to the program, because it's not about the program. It's about your response to life and using food as that crutch, right? And that's what I kind of did. My husband was challenging me. We went by this food stand, I'll just say, and all of a sudden he was like, even if we stopped, you wouldn't have any anyway, because you're just all into your program, you're all into your stuff, and I'd be eating it alone, so what's the point? And don't tell me what I can't eat. I'll show you. Ha ha ha, I can have whatever I want. That started the monkey mind going crazy, because right away I started calculating. Well, I could have whatever I want. I could just write it tonight and then we could eat it tomorrow. And no, it's not ideal for what I should be eating, but as long as I pre-wrote it. Total flippin' nightmare. And then my stronger self going, we're vegan, we're raw vegan, we care about ourselves, and that was another thing. I didn't have my food. Whenever I get low on groceries, whenever my sprouts and things are in the middle of their growth cycle and I've accidentally mistimed things, part of me panics. I feel deprived. I feel that I'm not going to be provided for. I start to freak. And all of that was going down just for today. I can't negate 27 days. It was just one window. And literally in my life, that's a 3-hour window for which I certainly wasn't even eating for an hour and a half of it, right? So it's a really interesting time right now. I'm not going to say that I was binge prone. I will say for the last 2 days, my choice of adequate fat, which of course is just plant-based fat, wasn't satiating. It wasn't my best one. It wasn't avocado. It wasn't nut butter. And those tend to satiate me a little better. And I did that 2 days in a row. So I may have been coming up on a bit of a binge prone mentality in my body. But whatever the case is, I'm leaving it in today. And tomorrow is a brand new day. And I will work my plan again. So let's go through this cleanly. To promise not to do a thing is the surest way in the world to make a body want to go and do that very thing. Mark Twain. How many times did I swear off, make promises and resolutions to stop overeating? Sometimes I followed through with a diet, and sometimes I didn't even start. But always the promises and the diets were fuel for the compulsion. It took Overeaters Anonymous to put into words what all my experience should have told me, that I was powerless over compulsive overeating, and no promise, no temporary submission to restricted eating would relieve me of my food obsession. In OA, I was given a suggested program of my recovery, and all that was asked of me in return was that I have a desire to stop eating compulsively. For today, I will allow no one, including myself, to pressure me into promising to lose weight. And, I think that's some of the things. I do this. Somebody over-complimented me. A few people paid too much attention to me. And my lesser self started going, oh no, people are going to start noticing us more. Oh no, you're looking better. And people are going to start expecting you to keep your weight off. Like, this is stuff I heard my whole freaking life, right? Not as a little tiny kid, because I was super crazy skinny. But I guess starting in 3rd grade, I was still skinny, but you start to be pubescent and pre-adolescent, and my body started to change, and right away, not only was that dangerous for someone who's sexually abused, but it became a game of starting to starve and do competitively diet, starting at 9 years old in 3rd grade. And so that was a trigger for me, and I'm just going to have to find out how to feel safe in my body as my weight is coming off. Even if people acknowledge me, I'm going to have to figure out how to feel safe. It's going to be some work, people. I'm all in. All right, my friends, as always, thank you for letting me share. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for those who comment because they get it. And even if you don't, thanks for being my accountability partners. I really appreciate it. As always, like if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you. It's a beautiful time. I'm going to have to find some Christmas tomorrow. Christmas Eve, praise God. Mary and Joseph are on their donkey. They're on their way to find a place to give birth to our Savior. And until we talk again, best of all, know that you're blessed. Sorry.